Good morning, Saturday moaners. How are we all? Good morning. Welcome. Welcome. What kind of a Saturday is it where you are? Don't forget, stay tuned. 11 o'clock today. We've got all bases covered here. You've got some tasty food. The girls, the curly cooks, have already smoked me out of house and home. I've had an asthma attack. I stink of smoke. They're barbecuing. So that means there's going to be some tasty food. I think I saw them shoving a beer can up the jacksie of a chicken. Don't know what you're going to get on the curly cooks ever. Curly cocks. Good morning, though. Welcome to Saturday Morning. Thank you for all of your comments, all of your discussions, all of your ideas, all of your thoughts across the week. It makes Coffee Moaning a really rich forum. It makes it a rich, newsy forum. And I like to think that when you look at all of the kind of independent news out there, all the independent channels covering a lot of the news stories, yes, they do lives. They don't do as many lives as you'd like to think, and they certainly don't interact with their audience as much as we do with you. But I think part of that is a tribute to the fact that you are all so well informed. And even when not well informed, you are all hungry to know more. So with that in mind, we're going to do the Saturday Morning. We used to call it the papers, but it's not anymore, is it? It's just the news. The news accordance. How is everyone here today? If you're listening on podcast, I'm talking to our community here on the right. Morning, Zoe. Morning, Karima. Morning, Steph Schultz. Gabrielle, Debbie Tynan, Cloda. Welcome, all of you. So a lot of the papers, obviously, we had the enormous announcement in the week of Israel's decision to fully occupy Gaza. So a lot of the papers are carrying this. We're kind of 24 hours away from that now. So what we've got are the gyrations, if you like, of the world. We've got international responses and a little bit the news yesterday that Donald Trump is going to be meeting with, hang on, have I not got this? Just one sec. Oh no, hang on, I might not have done the headlines for this story. Oh, that's a bit annoying, isn't it? Anyway, well, the big news across all the papers is that Donald Trump has announced that he is going to be meeting with Putin in Alaska, which kind of makes sense because when you look at the map of the world, from Russia to Alaska, it's quite quick, it's quite short. So yeah, Trump and Putin could be meeting or are meeting next Friday. Zelensky's a little bit like the guy at the edge going, what about me? What about me? Which is kind of fair enough because it is all about Ukraine. So the US president says the end to the war will now involve the swapping of territories. I'm curious to know what Ukraine are going to get from Russia. Do you know what I mean? President Volodymyr Zelensky said early on Saturday this morning that Ukrainians will not give their land to occupiers after Donald Trump said he would meet Vladimir Putin next week and that an end to the war must involve some swapping of territories. You need to give a little bit of you, give a little bit of them. Everyone needs to just do a little bit of giving it, a bit of a swappity swap. What exactly are Ukraine going to take from Russia? I can't quite work that out. So will this lead to anything? Or will they simply head off into the wilderness, both astride a moose or an elk, oiling each other up? And maybe they'll go fishing like J.D. Vance and David Lammy. Whilst the world bakes, whilst the world commits genocide or watches a genocide happening or ignores a genocide happening, they go fishing. J.D. Vance and David Lammy go fishing. Quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. So a lot of the papers are leading with this. The Guardian is leading with that. Sorry, I haven't got the headlines here. Zelensky rejects giving up land to occupiers, says the Telegraph, ahead of Trump meeting with Putin. I mean, really, that's the news around that story. They're meeting. And, Donald Trump's going to make a lot of it. I think Donald Trump's going to potentially use it to distract from the Epstein files and all that kind of stuff. So that is on the front pages of a lot of the papers, which I think is quite interesting. It's already nudged the main event, if you like, which is Gaza. And so what are the headlines around Gaza this morning? Gaza latest emergency meeting is set for the UN Security Council as Israel plans military takeover. This is the Independent reporting that, basically, the world has gone mad. Germany has said it will stop selling arms. I mean, this is a major deal. Germany saying that they may stop selling arms. I'm sure there'll be many caveats like we'll only not sell arms that can't be used on a Thursday if they're possibly used in Gaza. There seems to be so many caveats, don't there, to so many of these things. So, you know, the global response has been strong. This guy, Mike Huckabee, he's a one, isn't he? He's really sort of weird and fanatical and a fundamentalist, and he's a real arse licker of Israel, isn't he? What I mean, Jesus Christ, he's just he's just horrid. His line is in response to Britain, the UK, saying that we will recognise a Palestinian state. Mike Huckabee, being the US ambassador to Israel, his line on this is that basically, if you hadn't done what you did in Dresden, now for anyone who doesn't know World War II, Dresden was was an atrocity where tens of thousands of civilians were bombed by Allied forces, our forces in World War II, and it killed tens of thousands of civilians. It's widely regarded as a sort of a blot, if you like, on the civilian aspect of World War II. And I think the reason there was a get around for it was they were considered to be Germans, the Nazis, the enemy. It's collateral damage. And we're in a curiously grisly global political scenario where if ambassadors can invoke an event, I heard Nick Ferrari do this on LBC, if you can invoke an event from World War II, that from a neutral humanitarian perspective, after 80 years after the event, you can say that was an awful stain, if you like, on war and the how to conduct war. I mean, I know it sounds bizarre that there should be rules, but there are. To invoke it as somehow a justification or an excuse to go into Gaza and commit yet more atrocities strikes me as curiously grisly for a man who prides himself on being a Christian. This is the part of it all I don't understand. And I mean, I know we all know that many wars have been fought in the name of religion, but more often than not, the wars that have been fought in the name of man's interpretation of religion. I mean, I personally think I'd have gotten with Jesus really well. But I'm not religious. I think he'd have been quite cool. I think he'd have been a really kind of chilled Instagrammer with kind of lifestyle choices and kind of, you know, I don't know, well-being, you know, messages and stuff like that. But the bombing of Dresden and the bombing of Coventry, the bombing of Dresden was a war crime. Hiroshima was, you know, you could argue, was that proportionate? Now it's easy with the benefit of hindsight to look back and go, well, we should have done that. But that's the point of hindsight, isn't it? Isn't the point of hindsight? Yes, Nikki Bull. Most American Christians would hate Jesus, at least of all, because he'd be black or Palestinian. You know, I'd love to go into the kind of Bible Belt of America and just whisper in every sort of evangelical fundamentalist's ear, Jesus was Palestinian, and just see what happens. It'd be like setting off dynamite everywhere, wouldn't it? Heads would explode like that David Cronenberg film, Scanners. What? He wasn't blonde and blue-eyed. I think that's possibly... Okay, here's a question. I saw a really interesting historic interview with Richard Nixon in which he talks about his support of Israel. And the interviewer at the time said, the former president of the US, but there's no strategic benefit to Israel. And he goes, no, it's a moral benefit. And I wonder, could this be part of the equation? And I'm just throwing this out there as a thought. I'm not saying this is the case. Do you think the creation of Israel, or part of the support of the Israeli oppression of Arabs, which are two different things. There's an Israeli nation, and then there's the Israeli oppression of Arabs. Do you think the West's support of that is partly a hangover from what were they called? Oh God, I've just lost their name. When all the knights went over to the Middle East, what was that? What were they called? What was it called when all the knights went over and kind of conquered things? Oh, there's a word for it. Come on. This is where you guys fill in my missing synapses. Also have an imbibation. Let me know. Crusades. Thank you, Nikki Bill. Do you think this is almost a continuation of the Crusades? A sort of a whitening up? God. A sort of whitening up of the Middle East. A sort of, well, as Netanyahu says so often, a civilizing of an area of the world in which we don't really belong. My God, that makes you wince, but it means it's good. So yeah, Mike Huckabee basically saying to us, he taunts Starmer and likens the Gaza assault to the Dresden bombing. He even says Britain would speak German if Starmer was Prime Minister in Second World War, says Mike Huckabee. He's a repellent individual, isn't he? I'm literally going to show you this photo because it just makes me chuckle every time. Where's Donald? Donald. Keir Starmer has urged Benjamin Netanyahu to reconsider. So reconsider is now the new concerned in the West. So everyone's now kind of, it's got to a point, as I said to Nadia, where everyone has to show some action. So Germany stopping sale. But will it change anything? So the word that everyone's using now is reconsider. Hopefully Israel will reconsider their choice to invade Gaza even more. So yeah, guerrilla warfare for Gaza as Israel prepares for October the 7th evacuation. Netanyahu has announced a deadline for the mass evacuation of Palestinians before a planned ground offensive. So this is a little bit more meat on the bones. This is the suggestion that actually the evacuation of between 800,000 and 1 million Gazans from Gaza City needs to be complete by October the 7th. There are already many films knocking about of Palestinians saying, we've got nowhere else to go. I mean, this is our home. If you're what Israel is saying is, if you're, it's a very symbolic day, isn't it? If you're still in Gaza City on October the 7th, I presume they're going to launch the ground offensive and the blitzkrieg that will then flush everyone out. Nikki Ball says, pretty please, can you stop the genocide? Maybe, says, yes, exactly. If you wouldn't mind, would you mind just stopping this, please? Reconsider everything, please. And I think we said yesterday, or we certainly said on the night that this news was all breaking, this has all the prospects for the IDF and the Israelis and for the Gazans and and Hamas of evolving into a deeply entrenched guerrilla warfare. And the idea is that in them giving this date of October the 7th, it's a clear date that, as MeTube says, that anyone remaining in Gaza City will be essentially considered as Hamas, and so will be allowed to be shot and killed. Now, that's not how you conduct a war still. Even if you give an evacuation order, your job as an occupying force. And it's interesting, apparently the language that the Israeli government have used has tiptoed, even the extreme right, you know, the Smotriches and the Ben-Gavirs, they're avoiding the language of occupying Gaza or occupying Gaza City, because if they use the term occupy, can you believe this? They're worried that legally that leaves them vulnerable at this stage of all things to the accusation that they're not responsible for the civilian population. So it's a mission. So their mission on October the 7th will, you know, if no one's left, will validate killing anyone and everyone they come across in Gaza City. You know, it's not good. It's not good. And the world is asking them to leave. This is a map. I just thought it was useful for us all to look at a map, because we so often talk about the Gaza Strip. That is the Gaza Strip. The grey area, is allegedly the part that is still, you could argue, Gazan. The orange area, the largest part of that map, is the area that is within both Israeli militarized zone and under a displacement order. So you are in, if you're in those areas, you should have moved. And then the red area is the, excuse me, planned occupation of Gaza City. You can see why the Israelis want it. I mean, Gaza is prime position on the Mediterranean Sea there. I mean, it's all coastal. I mean, you can feel Donald Trump, and you can feel all of the settlers, relatives and friends in Brooklyn, principally, who are kind of, you know, buying up great swathes of the Strip. How can you buy up something you don't own or don't have the right to sell? But who's selling it? Who's selling it? Who owns it to sell it? That's the weirdest part of all of it. But that just gives you a sense of when they talk about 75% controlled by Israel, just understand that the grey area is essentially not controlled, as well as obviously Gaza City. So yeah, that's and as I say, world response: Australia joins the UK, Germany, Italy, and New Zealand in condemning Israel's planned Gaza takeover. They condemn it, but are they going to do anything about it? they're asking them to reconsider. They're all very concerned. Australia's Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong has joined fresh international condemnation of Israel's plans to control more of Gaza. In a new ground offensive warning, it risks breaching international law. It's funny how everyone keeps saying that the next stage of this atrocity risks breaking. I mean, the UN does this too, risks breaking international law. Like it's never happened, like it hasn't happened yet. I think we need to change the language. Rather than saying this risks breaking, this will break international law. They are breaking international law. It does frustrate me that every single diplomatic piece or statement that comes out of every government or the UN, this risks committing genocide. This risks a humanitarian. No, it will. It does. It has. It is. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. It's really curious. Israel gives, as I said, Gazans until October the 7th to evacuate ahead of full occupation. I mean, the ICJ has also, reminded Israel that they're due to their investigation, which isn't due to find whether they've committed a genocide until 2027. And let's not beat around the bush. By 2027, potentially the genocide will be complete. And actually, that might make the ICJ's work very easy because they can just look at Palestine and go, "Oh fuck, where did Trump Tower come from? Where is everyone? Where is genocide happened? Do you need to sort of do a whole kind of trial about this? I think we can." Do you know what I mean? I mean, in a weird way, what this whole crisis has revealed, and this is dangerous, because after World War II, after World War I, rather, the League of Nations was set up to stop wars happening again, became entirely ineffective in the face of Hitler's kind of rampaging. And we're in the same place now, where all of the international bodies are blunt. They've been blunted. They have no teeth. MeTube, accountability only works if there are other nations willing to hold other leaders to account. But right now, they all fear tariffs. Yeah, exactly. Donald Trump, the ultimate fucking mobster, the OG, he's got everyone running, panicking around the fucking world, going, "Oh, fucking hell, we're going to be taxed and tariffed and fee." Where are they getting the troops from for the ground offensive? Australian Green Party is saying they want to find out if any Australians go and they will be investigated for war crimes. Good question. Well, I think if you saw our live when we announced the breaking news, the IDF, those are the concerns of the IDF. The IDF themselves are concerned. I mean, you're in a really tricky situation when the most immoral, amoral, unmoral army in the world, the IDF, are themselves concerned about conducting the ground offensive. What the fuck? And let me just remind you, Ben Gvir, the right-wing terrorist sympathizing, settling Zionist nut job in the Israeli government, whose eyes are constantly out on stalks. He was considered too extreme to join the IDF. Did you know that? He's in the government. I think Ed Davey made a really good suggestion yesterday, the leader of the Lib Dems, that we should be sanctioning Benjamin Netanyahu directly. Evie, Mossad have dodgy information on every so-called leader and wannabe leader. And that leads us beautifully, Evie, seamlessly into this curious story. And it's curious only because it's the Telegraph that's carrying it. It's curious. I was Epstein's butler for 18 years. There's no way he killed himself. And I'm now going to pop up the headline with an image of his butler, whose name is Valson Vera Cotrin. Wow, what name. Alongside Epstein on one of his dodgy jets. And Epstein is wearing an IDF t-shirt. Oh my God. This is his butler. And this is a huge piece. This is the top headline on the Telegraph's news app. Jeffrey Epstein loved life too much to kill himself, says this chap who was his butler for 18 years. In an interview that will heap renewed pressure on the Trump admin to make the Epstein files public, one of his closest aides said he had spoken to the paedophile financier just before he died and insisted he was in good spirits. Here he is in a photograph. I'm just trying to find. That's interesting. Oh, no, it does say underneath the image, it says, here is a photograph, maybe one of the last taken of Epstein, showing him wearing an Israeli Defense Forces sweatshirt. an Israeli, how much more evidence do we need that Epstein was an operative for Mossad and Israel? He's wearing a fucking t-shirt with thumbs up, basically. I mean, this is like an episode of South Park. You don't need to make South Park to reveal how just unbelievable this is. There's an image of the younger Valdson Vera Cotrin with Bill Clinton. Dodgy fucker. It's weird, isn't it? I always look at Bill Clinton. I always think, I don't know if this is a hangover from his story. His tops always look like they've got stains on them. Like he's dropped a bit of food or something. Here's an image of the butler who's done this expose interview with Epstein, blowing candles out. And oh, look, there's Peter Mandelson, the Prince of Darkness, with a large glass of red wine. What was going on in that Blair government, eh? What was going on there? All very strange, very strange. What do we think, guys? He's just a wrong 'un, as they say up north. So big expose interview. I think a T-shirt wear with the IDF on. Come on, guys. Let's just put let's connect the dots, shall we? In other news today, a lot of marches are happening. Gaza march in London today. The Palestine Action protest is happening today. Between 500 and 1,000 activists could be arrested. The British government has tried to make space in prisons to ensure that they can house all of these terrorist sympathizers. So a lot of the papers are leading that, but also there are a lot of protests happening across the country outside migrant motels. So, you know, let's hope it doesn't get too hot, because the hotter it gets, the more possibility of riots and unrest. Counter-terror police shut down Palestine Action pre-protest briefing. This was a Zoom meeting. More than 500 people are expected to flout the law by declaring support for the banned group. I mean, we could have a day today. It could be a sort of perfect, imperfect storm for the police in this country. There's a lot of protests of different hues happening. Palestine Action, the Gaza March, the anti-migrant protests, then the counter-protests against the anti-migrant protests. So we could see the police forces at stretching point today. So the papers are reporting on this. 3,000 riot officers readied for a weekend of protests in England and Wales. They really could be at stretched. At least 20 hotels housing asylum seekers could be the focus of demonstrations and counter rallies. And that's before you factor in what will potentially be an incredibly big march today for Gaza. And I'm in Bristol this weekend, says Reese. Anyone going on any of the marches? I'm in Bristol this weekend. There's a big one queued, but also a counter protest also. Thanks, Reese. And to send our love to Bristol. It's where me and Nads met. Susan, as more and more draconian laws come in, they're going to need an awful lot of prison space. It's interesting that they can make the prison space for these guys, isn't it? Even though every legal expert in the world says it's wrong that they've prescribed Palestine Action as a terrorist group. If enough people turn up, says MeTube, it will cost the police more to process everyone. Laugh out loud. Dawny, there is one following 2 men being charged with rape of a 12-year-old and strangulation. Is this one of the migrant hotels? I'm not too sure if that's what you're referring to. I've got 10-hour shift today, says Good Ship Lollipop, so you can avoid all of the protests. Chris McLaughlin, they'll bring in digital monitoring, tag half the population, and extend the new ID cards to limit freedom. Well, the problem here's the problem. You know, none of us like the way in which the Labour Party have gone slow on, say, things like Gaza and recognizing a Palestinian state, condemning the genocide. Sometimes in a moment of kind of gratitude, one has to pause and think, my God, if you had Kemi Badenoch, and let's not beat around the bush, the leader of the Conservative Party, a woman who's willing to snitch on someone cheating an exam, just get on with your own shit. Why are you worried about other people? That interview with her yesterday made me despise her even more. But she would in no way be holding any kind of torch or fire to Netanyahu or Israel's feet. So, you know, there but for the grace of God, have we got Starmer the Gimp? I can't believe I'm saying it. But then if you've got reform, I mean, you know, so I'm beginning to feel a little bit like time's already running out. Because if all you know, predictions are correct, unless Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana's party is a spread across the nation and can successfully campaign, I'm worried we're going to lurch to the right and kiss goodbye to any potential statehood for Palestine. Nazir Khan says America could save thousands of lives to play positive rule, but unfortunately, America failed. She's a pleb too, says she was. Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, let's head over to the weirdest bromance. US and UK disagree about Gaza policy, but Vance suggests before Lammy meeting, these two have been fishing together. They've struck up a friendship. When asked about the British approach to Gaza, J.D. Vance, or Palestine rather, J.D. Vance had this to say.
The UK's decision to recognise the state of Palestine.
Well, it's one of the things that we're going to talk about. Obviously, the United Kingdom is going to make its decision. We have no plans to recognize a Palestinian state. I don't know what it would mean to really recognize a Palestinian state, given the lack of a functional government there. You know, what the president has made very clear is our two goals are very simple right now vis-a-vis the situation in Israel and Gaza. Number one, we want to make it so that Hamas cannot attack innocent Israeli civilians ever again, and we think that has to come through the eradication of Hamas. Second, the president has been very moved by these terrible images of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, so we want to make sure that we solve that problem. I think all of us can work on how to solve that problem. Obviously, it's not an easy problem to solve, or it would have already been dealt with, but we share, I think, that focus and that goal. We may have some disagreements about how exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting, Mitchell. I didn't realize they met at college, did they? So they're college buddies. Well, there you go. So the oddest bromance in the world. David Lammy, I just find is unforgivable, just unforgivable. And if I'm honest, I don't find any statement that they've made about the increased Gaza offensive substantive or sufficient. Sanction, take direct action, do something. Get your hands in the F-35 parts pot and pull them out. In another odd kind of worry about free speech, the right-wing press, I have concern. We all have concerns about free speech, but police in free speech row over a shoplifters are scumbags sign. Force criticised for woke nonsense as J.D. Vance warns the UK not to stray down the dark path of censorship. The shopkeeper was stunned when police told him to change his sign, calling shoplifters scumbags because it may be offensive. This is the shoplifter. No, it's not. This is the shop owner. This is the sign. Due to scumbags shoplifting, please ask for assistance to open cabinets. I mean, I don't find it offensive, but, and there's his shop run ragged. Should we be offended? Is it offensive? I mean, I can't see any shoplifters going in and going, I'm really fucking offended. Why? Are you a shoplifter? Yeah, right. You're nicked. Yeah. Scumbag, the word scumbag, that doesn't target any demographic, does it? It's like a toe rag. It's like calling someone a toe rag. Oh, it's such a horrible one, isn't it? Toe rag. So many shops keeping their doors locked these days. Yeah, maybe we should shop by appointment. It's kind of like slow motion online shopping, isn't it? Go online. Is it open? Yes. Head along. Ring the doorbell. Go in. Who does it offend? Who's it offending? Shoplifters, I guess. That's the only people I can see being offended. I do think it's a bit ridiculous myself. Fair play to him, says Ross Satch. Yeah, I mean, I think, he's annoyed. It's affecting his business. I mean, the thing is, though, he looks like Gandalf. He looks like he could cast a spell and he could sort out the shoplifting problem of the UK. Oh, wonderful, wondrous. Oasis. Some of our friends were at Oasis last night. They were at Wembley Stadium, playing it 7 times. Oasis fans are spending big on nostalgia as the reunion tour rakes in nearly £500 million. Wow. They timed it brilliantly. And this is a report saying that gig attendees or people going to their gigs are splashing out. Get this. This is an amazing average. Gig attenders are splashing out an average of nearly £800 each for the experience. And that's the combined cost of tickets and merchandise. So, wow, almighty. But I've got a hit list here of the highest profits from world tours, which is always interesting. High profits. Oasis reunion tour average earnings compared to the top 10 highest grossing tours of all time. Taylor Swift, her earnings basically amounted to £10.3 million per show. Oasis's at the moment is amounting to 9.7 million per show, which dwarfs the likes of U2, Coldplay, Pink, and Ed Sheeran. Quite something, isn't it? Tours, man. That's where the money is. That's where the money is, isn't it, for these big names? Anyone here been to Oasis or seen them or bought themselves an Oasis top? They're raking it in, says Reese. Also in Wembley in August, Coldplay are doing a 10-night stint, I believe. Last summer, the theme was sports. This summer, the theme is really live music. Imagine if people just started putting up signs everywhere with language like "stay off the grass, wankers." It's just unnecessary to make a point. Well, do you know what? It would make me chuckle as I wandered around town, Miju. Steph Schultz, I like Oasis, but wouldn't go mad. I think it's the nostalgia. Russ, you're not a fan, matey. Well, couldn't get ticket. Oh, yes, no, Zoe, I remember you couldn't get tickets. Gutted. My sister is going to New York to see them, says Clodo. Wow. Still tempted to get a resale ticket for 300, says Zoe. Yeah, I haven't got the urge myself. In other news, Glasgow has become the ultimate Hollywood stand-in. Lots of memes and footage of Tom Holland's stunt double swinging from a structure as they drive through Glasgow. Spider-Man takes over the streets of Glasgow as the city is transformed into New York. Whoa. This is a curious one. Well, no, I haven't got pictures for that, so we won't do that. Check this out. Sprinting tourist grabs 7 sunbeds within a minute. I don't know why. I suppose the reason I pulled this was I'm going to show you a clip. I've had to remove the music because it's commercial. I don't know why. This guy really fucking annoys me. And it's not even close up. Check this out. We're now watching a man. Look, watch. Dumph. Boom, 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 boom. Can you believe that? Look, so we're watching a man legging it, sprinting to the front of a pool, and he puts towels down on each bed. It's images like that that make me frightened, that you've got genocide in one place and then you've got him. And apparently he left his towels on those beds for the next 2 or 3 hours without even coming down. That's the annoying part, isn't it? That's the annoying part. What someone should do is walk past his towels, get one of those little tubs of Nutella, pop it in until it melts, and then slide it out. And then when he comes down to lie on it, it'll look like a skid mark. Sorry. I don't know where that came from. Pure resentment. Now, I want to ask you, now this is a serious story, but I'm sure even after the event, their family, this happened in Brazil. This next headline happened in Brazil. Now, there is a tragedy involved here, but it's quite a remarkable headline, and I just thought you might want to see it. So I'm going to show it, but I'm not making light of it. A couple were having sex in a car, and I think they were having sex so robustly, the car accidentally rocked off the cliff and they fell to their deaths. Tragic news. And yeah, that happened in Brazil. Just sharing it because it was one of those headlines that I know that if you were all flicking through the papers or through the apps, you would see it and you'd be like, wow, okay. The handbrake was on, the car went over, they were thrown from the car. Yeah. Now, if I was to say Ibiza final boss to you, does that mean anything to anyone? What a way to go, Nikki. I kind of thought that. Yeah. What a way to come and go, Michu. I let you go there. I didn't go there. At least they were happy. I hope so. If I say Ibiza final boss, does that mean anything to anyone? I'm going to show you a clip of the Ibiza final boss. This guy. Well, what I'm going to show you first is the meme. Ibiza final boss Lego set unveiled. This is a joke. It hasn't really been unveiled, but it needs to be. I've become obsessed with this guy's hair. This hair is quite something. And I'm now going to, so this is Ibiza final boss Jack K reunites with the barber who gave him his viral haircut. And here we have it.
Congratulations! How are you? You alright? Good, man. Yeah, good. Yeah, man. I see what happened. Yeah, man. You're welcome. Everything okay? Oh, nice, man. Yes, yeah, I know. You're welcome. Famous now, yeah, man.
It's Lego hair. Make me Lego man. It's quite something, isn't it? So I'm going to show you some footage of him dancing. Again, I've had to strip the music out, but look, here he is. And he likes his trance music. Some are suggesting maybe it's a comb over, but with a very tight line. I can't even get my head around it. It's astonishing. It's an astonishing. Look, there's a photo of him with his barber. It's great, isn't it? And here you go. Here's another clip of him. Look at that. Look at his face. It's not. It's just. I mean, even his teeth are like a Lego character. Look, he is Lego. He's the dude. He's the dude. Well, there you go, guys. So at 11 o'clock, 23 minutes from now, the Curly Cooks will be live. There's something happening in the garden. There's a bit of outsideness out there. I'm going to go and get a Lego haircut because it looks just so fucking practical. Just clip it on, clip it off. Thanks for all your comments. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, see you in about 20 minutes for God only knows what. I'm going to go and get my inhaler pump because I've already got asthma.